This is Dan Max at Eastby Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your live market chat for Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, the day before the FOMC. Let's get into it. A lot to talk about, a lot of chicanery, what I consider junk, news, noise, a lot of stuff going on. So, goal is to be prepared, be mentally prepared, essentially, know what you're going to do, be prepared to act as needed. And also just don't be emotional. Be the rock, be water, flow, like our friend Bruce Lee. And if I can get a quick mic check, and then I will jump more into it. So a lot going on today in the sense of the preparation for the market and what's to come for tomorrow. It's interesting to see our good friend Dow, leader, lagger, whatever you want to call it, Intel, doing what Intel does. So I'll just talk about what I'm watching, and here, let's just jump into it. So semiconductors, added my last available tranche of Soxus in 1770s, posted this in the Discord room. Why, where, when, I wish I could tell folks this is the top, the bottom, but I did say, keep an eye on this turd, because it's been a leading turd. I mean, look what it did. It went from 24 up to 30. Do the math there. That's a solid 30% in a couple weeks. Hit the 200-day. Now back to the 150-day. Interesting. SMH makes new highs. This candle, we'll see how it closes, but I like the wick. I like the color. ¿Qué color es this? So, NVIDIA, same thing, chopping up at the highs. Okay. Taiwan Semi went a little nuts this morning, right? Hits the 0.382, this backside of the channel. Like, I don't know if anyone saw it, but good enough, close enough for government work, right? Close enough. So at this point, I was kind of watching those, and it's like, all right, well, tech is doing its thing. It's kind of flopping around. Oil and gas all over the place. Wow, some of the solar stuff. I was saying to myself, Tesla, is this going to be a novice gap? Is this a novice gap? Because keep in mind, just look to the left here. You've got some large VAP here, volume at price, right? Rates in where we're at. So I'd be watching that. And someone, I can't remember who it was, but again, I always like to do the shout outs on the Twitter. Again, follow if you have any questions, thoughts. I'm always posting stuff. This morning's been kind of quiet. Someone hit me up. Who is it? Zach, and said, is this a novice gap on the SPY? Well, let's open it up. Let's go to the videotape. It's feeling very novice gapish. Now, I know it's over the 20 though, so people will say, well, Dan, isn't that bullish? Well, we've seen this before. You've had temporary above and below it, right? So this candle in itself, if you are new to trading, been trading forever, I would watch today's action, right? Because now, if you assume certain things, Doji's indecision going into the FOMC, they just absolutely murdered the VIX and the puts, right? Well done, job accomplished, right? We talked about it always being potentially possible that you could get back down to this 100 day. Well, you're there, essentially. Wildness, right? You go from 20. This is one of the, honestly, so this has been some of the hardest stuff I've dealt with in years. And not because of just being hard on its own, but just the differences in the markets. Usually when the financials dump, the market follows. Well, the market did follow, but tech didn't, which is a huge anomaly to me, because again, as most of y'all know, there's massive gluts being built in the tech industry and also in the chip industry. It's not some sort of mechanism that just got worked off really quickly. Now we're pricing in the future. No, the gluts are growing, right? Apple's going to make their own chips for their own computers. South Korea is talking about, building out their whole big infrastructure to compete with Taiwan. The U.S. is literally going to be subsidizing chips. It's not a good environment if you believe in economic supply-demand long-term. Because, the more supply with slowing economic demand, bad combination. Would we not agree? Can I get a hell yeah from the crowd? What was that? Steve Austin, if I remember right. So that's kind of what I'm paying attention to. I know I see Apple just flopping around. Meta got the Morgan Stanley upgrade at the highs. Good God, the buddy pass. Come on, man. These guys are relentless. And it's like, okay, well, all right. If financials need a rally, congratulations, Morgan Stanley. You guys look like real men of genius. Apple, again, slightly over the death candle. But again, it's the trap bull zone. Pretend this was the ARK fund. I can't remember who was saying that. I think it was Hamilton. Kristen was telling me. I'm like, yeah, this is essentially the trap bull zone. You just keep making lower lows, lower highs, and then you just back up to this area. And if you're like, what are you talking about? Was it KK, right? Yeah. Here it is. When you're coming off the highs, we had this trapped bull zone. Now again, could you move the line a little bit? Probably need to draw it a little better, right? Let's move that to there. And let's expand it just to there. But that's what I was referencing. The trapped bull zone. So y'all see what I'm talking about? You have this zone where it just continued to get stuck in. And then eventually, hi-ho, silver, away. Now you're down here. So that's just kind of an interesting thought to watch. NVIDIA, I know they have their investor day coming up. I mean, if this isn't a sell the news, I would be mind-boggled if this thing can rip higher. That would blow my mind. Yeah, Meta gets the upgrade. Look at this candle. Again, I mean, Morgan Stanley clients are buying. Morgan Stanley selling. Lower high? Question mark. In Netflix, I mean, again, I've been watching some of this tech stuff. Just absolutely disgusting. AMD, retail's favorite. I mean, they're all in on this thing. Look at this candle. Man, if you wanted to short AMD and you saw this, and again, that's why I was like, all right, I think Soxus might be the play to add today. Now, again, a lot of people are like, oh, you bought between 18, 20, whatever. Yeah. Again, the swing. The swing is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the fast money. It's kind of like shorting the fads. It took as long as it's going to take. Shorted some in the mid 90s. No, not low 90s, and then in the mid 80s. Yeah, and then it got down to 50. Not a bad trade. Now could the Soxus go from 17, 18 up to 28 to 30, 35? Absolutely. Would that be a bad trade? Would you kick yourself for that trade? I mean, I think that could make your year if you had the cojones to put in the right, buy low and set stops and define your risk. So, financials, not surprised. Little rally here today. I mean, things that are oversold. Someone said, like, is that a professional gap? I mean, I don't know. I'd be more concerned to how we handled the 32 levels. I'm not surprised that we got this gap off. But, look, we've had gap ups and downs all over the place on this stuff. Because that's the thing. Yeah, Zeph, I'd like the AMD short a lot, too. It makes sense to me. And is money coming in because they've pretended to solve the world? This ex-dividend date and actually not a lot of volume down here. But then you gap up, and it's interesting that there's no continuation volume of up. Like it's not expanding volume to the upside. So to me, it just looks like a big ass trading range. 32, 30, 31 and change, or 30, upper 30s. Again, I was talking to my dad today. He's like, I don't understand this market at all. And I'm like, then it's doing its job. Well, what does that mean, right? To trick the most amount of people most amount of times. And I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, this is easy and I could have predicted. No, I mean, I honestly thought the market was waking up on Friday to the fact that the Feds are going to continue to raise rates, which, again, let's go look at the Fed fund futures. Let's watch it live. Where are we at? Let me hit refresh just to double check. I mean, the odds have to be rising. Yeah, 80% chance of a rate hike tomorrow. So, okay. I'm just curious. May, it's probably going to be, in May, you still have the odds of another quarter. Interesting, right? Yeah, another quarter that's ratcheting it up. Let's see what about the Juner. Nah, they look like they're stuck, maintain. I mean, the forward end of this curve just, it looks like that they're going to be pricing in pivots, right? That's why I love this chart, right? You can just and it updates what it was a month ago or whatever, weeks ago. It's cool. It's cool stuff. Again, if you want the link here, I'll drop it in the chat. Always save this link if you're wondering what the Feds are going to do, what the expectations are, the Fed fund rates. It's a fun little link. Check it out. Enjoy. And on that note, just kind of hanging out today. Not really too, what's the best word? I mean, not really trying to dive too deep into the markets and bury my head into things, because I feel like for me, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, this is fun and I'm not frustrated at all. Like, no, it's rather annoying watching this, seeing the action. It's like, come on, they're going to pop First Solar up? Okay, whatever, boss. Back test the trend line, whatever this is. No, that's not the right trend line. Oh, maybe it is. All right, back test that one. Okay, sure. Again, I'm not even looking that hard at it. So people are like, oh, what do you think today? I'm like, I'm trying not to overthink this. Gold, I'm not surprised. Again, as someone who has traded gold and lost tons of money, made tons of money, realized that my education is incredibly expensive for gold. I've realized what? Yeah, I mean, not surprised. It gaps up on big volume going into the Fed, as this isn't the pivot, as I've warned. Okay, we'll see what happens here. Because this is what usually when gold gets slapped, history repeats and it rhymes. Does it have to work perfectly? Again, we could be wrong here. Is that usually as the Feds are tightening at the end of the cycle, gold gets absolutely slammed, as does the markets, and then the markets take another leg down when the Feds pivot, because the market's now like in a process of like, oh crap, it's the roller coaster, free for all down. So does gold break out? Gold, again, I personally have said just don't chase. And this is again why you don't chase. I mean, imagine if you bought it in the 180s, you're sitting here going, oh crap, now what? Right? And this stuff is moving fast. And, velocity begets velocity, as we say. So at this point, just let it pull back. And I just personally think there's better trades out there. Any thoughts, questions, concerns, please feel free to interrupt. I'm just kind of going through my thinking here as I look at gold. And I go, all right, well, I'll leave that alone. And then we talked about the miners. Nobody cares. No, I mean, we're into some major resistance zones. And look at that. I don't know about y'all, but this is like the island floating of its own floating accord reversal. And if we close under 30, which we are, I mean, in the 50-day, it just doesn't really look that bullish. So as all the folks who are continuously like, again, you're only as good as your last trade. I'm never going to just sit here and really get annoyed by it. But it's like when I'm wrong about certain things, people are just relentless. And I'm like, well, did you heed the warnings? Good old AG, as I've said many a times, no desire to buy this, and look at this. And we have the monthly trend line coming in. Come on down. What do we say? Come on down. Like, would love it in the fours. Would love it in the fours, cutting production, which is probably the smart thing to do. It's just I don't know what they're going to do. I've seen a few charts and they get smart money is buying this rally, not retail. Here's your thoughts on what do you pay attention to? Smart money is buying this rally. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to that stuff. I mean, I see it on Twitter. Smart money, stupid money. Again, there's a lot of big stupid money. If I really need to go much further than thinking, do you think the people who are invested in SVIB and all these big banks and who bought Credit Suisse and who bought all this stuff, were they big, stupid money or smart money? I think that answers that question, right? There's a lot of big, stupid money, too. Just keep that in mind. Remember, sharks eat sharks, whales eat sharks, sharks eat whales, whatever. How does the chart tell you the smart money is buying? I would imagine people are looking at, like, I can't remember what Bloomberg, I think, runs like through their surveys and all this stuff, and Morgan Stanley. Yeah, I don't know. IWSM. I don't know why you would short the IWM versus the Qs. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why you would. No. You've got reference highs with more downside, in my opinion, than the IWM. Now, again, the IWM is lagging, Lee. I get that. I just, I don't know. It just seems easier to short Qs, in my opinion. IWM. Yeah, it's like, do you want to short financials at the low? I don't know. Probably not. Yeah. Short Ethereum. Man, so many people have been asking about Ethereum lately. You know what? And honestly, this is my struggle with crypto, and this is my novelty in crypto. I mean, I understand it, obviously. What is it at right now? What's up, cat? It's at 1,800 short. I mean, you can see on the again, I don't have. I guess I can pull it up. I don't really chart Ethereum that much, but I think crypto in general, just like gold, has a little bit of what I would consider ETH USD. It seems like it's going to be the struggle bus. Again, I don't draw a lot, but it looks very similar to Bitcoin. You had this broadening pattern, right? Broadening pattern, because this is a good question. I mean, again, money's all piling into crypto, and so you have this broadening pattern, and you have references. I mean, if I was going to, give advice on this, on Ethereum, I don't know, 1860 to 1715. I like to see what happens at this level, because it's an old shoulder line. You can see from over here it was a bounce point. Let me zoom out a little bit. I imagine it probably has more relevance than I think. Oh shit, Taki mushrooms. Yeah. Oh yeah. And again, this is the thing that's so hard about crypto at this point, is that, I mean, maybe I'm getting tons of marketing on it just constantly, like time to buy. It really felt like, and again, this is very similar to how gold's acting. You're bringing in all the dumb money. Is it late? That's the question. You know what I mean? And so if you have thoughts about such, same thing with gold. Like, I don't want to chase it, but I do have some GDX puts essentially through dust calls. It kind of makes sense to me, right? Gold up here, like, this is just very quick. Now again, the banking crisis exacerbates this. We get it. People rushing to gold. I just wish it wasn't the second quarter coming up, because gold never does well in the second quarter. But could it if there's extreme circumstances, right? Like, that can be the wild card here. And this is the thing. I've said this 1,000 times. If the market goes into the final blow-off stage, which you hope it happens at some point, because, this bear market can just go on forever and chop. We need the spike up here into the upper 40s. Minimum. Would love the 80, 90, because then you really have a bottom. You're not bottoming with spikes into the 29 and 30 level. That's just, I hope people start to see that. Now, can you hear the cat purring? She's really up in my grill. So we're not there yet, and so bear market, traders market. That's why I'm like, I don't know why IWM. I'd rather short the Qs, because I think, again, when you look, and this will be the last I'll talk about that IWM versus QQQ, because it's a good question. But I look at the Qs and I'm like, oh, do you guys not remember the 2000s? I mean, 120 down to 20. Now, again, how low? I would love to see the Qs get back to 118. Then I think it would be a smashing buy, but then they could go nowhere for a while, which, again, we've always talked about who wins the tech war. It's not tech. So, yep, we hope that helps. Short Ethereum, question. First Solar. Here you go. Check the monthly out. Blow off, in my opinion. Back testing a trend line again. I mean, again, this trend line is not obviously made of steel, but not surprised it bounced here. Not surprised at all. I mean, this is, again, in my opinion, a blow off top, because Solar is not going to do well. As you saw back, we've talked about $100 down monthly candles back in the 2000s. I mean, that is possible. So just be patient. Again, define your risk. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Hit your stops. I really wish people had the idea mentally that they pivoted from certainty and said, all right, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? It's no different than like going to the gym, learning how to get on a diet, learning how to do anything. You know, if you take everybody's advice you think is the best and you try to implement it, you'll find out that there's certain things that fit your style, or say your blood type for your diet or your workout because you're a certain type of body shape, all sorts of things. Nothing is easy as this is this and that is that kind of thing, you know. AG getting smushed. Yeah, it is. Hey, Dan, do you think the market is pricing in a pause or was pricing it in? Again, I don't really think like that, because I think, again, that's bullshit narratives that people just try to, like, get people to, like, hang on. Oh, is it pricing in or is it not priced in? Pause, whatever. Again, if they're pausing, that's not good. If they're cutting, it's not good. That's the thing I think is more important here, is that people realize maybe in the past is that these pivots, pauses, whatever, it's not because things are good. And they usually sell the news, events. And here's the thing about the banking stuff is I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that there are no reserves in the banking system. Like, there's no cash there if they really needed it. And also then they're waking up to the fact that inflation for longer, where the hell are you going to put your money? They don't want stocks, right? They don't want treasury debt. They don't want, they don't want treasuries unless interest rates are higher. I mean, we're just in this weird pickle where I don't think there's really anywhere to go, where maybe some people slam back into the market, try to value invest or tech invest. But I think, to get to the lows, you got to get everybody scared. And they're running for the exits from banking, but they're not like cashing out of the market scared yet. If the chart has been posted a few places, it shows an interesting correlation between retail selling when market does down and smart money buying and vice versa. Well, I mean, we've always talked about it. The market makers in themselves, Mitso, have to absorb what? Inventory. At the lows, they're the buyers, just mark up and sell later, and at the highs, they're selling to buy back lower. This time, retail is selling. I don't know about all of that. I think I've seen both sides selling here. But again, we'll see. I mean, there's no easy answer here, right? If Daniel posts a YouTube channel, I mean, you can post wherever. I know what you're talking about, but this is the thing. Smart money, dumb money. I've told you this, and I'll say it again. There's a lot of big, stupid money that's supposedly smart. Just keep that in mind, right? There's a lot of that out there. So if that made the difference, we'll see. Because, again, I personally think it's very obvious to me that the market is playing a game of what? Chicken. It's pause and unpause, bank stuff. I mean, again, tightening credit leads to what? Recessions. Well, can the market bottom without the VIX blowing people out? Because it hasn't been a blowout. It absolutely has not been a blowout. Oh, hey, AMD. And so this is the thing. Like, you can put smart money, stupid money charts out. I just know from previous history that until the VIX, again, gets into what I consider fear, panic, we're just playing the chop game. Playing the chop game. I'd rather short the highs and buy the dips, like we have been, right? Like, that's the best thing to do. So that's the best thing you can do, right? So it's an interesting conversation. I just don't. Again, it's kind of like being Buffett. You got to be careful what you tap into, like emotionally, mentally, news-wise, like what you follow. Because does it really matter? Does it really matter what supposed smart money is doing? Again, sources of charts, we can assume they're probably intended to be right, but are they? We don't know. Man, look at AM Dizzle, Nvidizzle. Let me see if there's any news out there. Let me see if there's any news. NVIDIA launches. Oh, I guess, is there NVIDIA and Microsoft to bring industrial metaverse and AI to hundreds of millions. Okay. So I'm assuming the NVIDIA conference has started. Yeah, there's all these like headlines. Let me see if I can copy them to Discord, and then I'll show the Discord room. Yeah. Give me 2 seconds. Working on it. Loading. NVIDIA launches AI superpower, yawn. Metaverse, blah. Okay, sure. Oracle. Okay, cool story. This has just got caught in there. Chubb. Next generational chip manufacturing. If this isn't buy the rumor, sell the news, we'll see. We shall see. And those were the, I mean, I'm assuming that's what was going on. Again, I think it was NVIDIA's conference is today, right? I knew it's today or tomorrow. Either way, to me, it's just going to be a fart in the wind at some point. So, yeah. Normally the news will say they got all out crashing when the same, obviously, guys. So, yeah, this is what the market turns around. Yep. I mean, it feels... Again, if you guys traded September 2018 into November or December, it was like the Feds raised and then they pivoted like immediately after, and the market got absolutely spladooshed. Is that a word? Y'all remember that? Let me see if I can get back into it. Let's go into the time we're saying. Yeah, NVIDIA is today. Thank you. I mean, I thought it was. I mean, I don't know why I didn't write it down, but that's my mistake. But again, in my mind, I'm not too concerned about it. Where's 2018? What year are we in? 2019? Okay. So the Feds went into this, was it the October? I guess maybe it was November. Yeah, the October meeting. They raised, people got pissed, then it chopped, and then boom. They got pissed off. Market got annoyed. Fed unpivot to pivot, right? Fed raising rates. Fed pivots. Burnt. Market drops a whopping 30%. End of the beginning. It feels like we're more here. I know it's not the same, but think about it. We had this choppy, sloppy, and then bounce chop around the lows. I'd love to get this out of the way and get the capitulation. That would be just excellent. But again, it's probably not going to happen overnight. We shall see. And now again, like, look at the market for what it is. Just this big chop slop pattern. Now again, people will say, yes, smart money making moves here. But remember, big volume, someone has to take the other side of the trade, right? It's not just, what's the word? Yeah, that's just the nature of it. You know, it's zero-sum game. If I'm selling, someone's buying my trade. Oops, excusez-moi. Disculpe-me. So, on that note, interesting conversation today. I mean, I personally think it just, whatever the Feds are going to say, and if the Feds are going to get hammered with questions about how to guarantee this and how to guarantee that, and they'll try to sound amazing, and they're going to try to sound like they've got it under control, and then you go back to their, you know, if you're a sports bettor, you run their against the spread lines, and you go, wow, they have never covered the spread, meaning they have never navigated a soft landing. So just be aware of that, you know. And again, I almost think like it's almost intentional for them to crash the market, because if I'm smart money, what am I doing, right? What? I'm loving it. You know, I'll just pull my bids and buy the dips. The lag when they're raising interest rates, yeah, I mean. We always talk, I mean, not me, but I reference the 6 to 9 month lagging effect from raising rates. And so obviously they started raising rates. Oh, stop it. And so if you're 6 to 9 months, now you're in the 5 to 6, 7 range. We've been there now for a couple months. Now what? I mean, people are starting to wake up. Maybe this is what you should consider the new normal right here, is this the next 5 to 7% interest rates. Then what? When they start cutting, things are probably going to be not good. Remember that. They don't cut when things are amazing. They cut because they're going, oh, crap. Come on, semis. Like I said, added a decent amount in my IRAs and rollover accounts, which, again, I typically don't. Well, what's the best way to describe it? I typically don't actively trade them, but I was in my mind going, well, that's the last amount of capital that I really even would want to put to risk here, and I will do it if I think we're at an inflection point. And again, it's easy to buy a couple thousand shares and put the stop in and say, well, fate, take care of our results. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Yeah, I mean, is it a sell the news event on this stuff? You know, would I like to see it down in front of the FOMC? Again, I could be wrong here. I don't see Nvidia unloading to the floor. Maybe it just trades in this range from 251 to 260, and then whatever the Feds say. Now remember, is Eric here? Because he noticed this phenomena before I did, that sometimes it's the Thursday post OPEX. It's the Thursday post OPEX, not OPEX, FOMC. I'm getting my letterings wrong. That usually matters. Dollar stores can't carry eggs. Inflation too dang high. Yeah, aren't they going to call it Tree Dollar or something, or change the name from Dollar Tree? Because ain't nothing a dollar there anymore. That's a joke. Hot diggity dazam. Finally. A little bit of weakness here. Check out the Qs as we talked about. Does anyone remember this? We talked about up here, this level 308, 310. Okay. Why not $1 per egg? Yeah, great. Oil, question mark. What about oil? As I've said many a times, I have no interest in really trading the oil names. I could see them going up on geopolitical risk. I could see them getting cooked on recession risk. And at this point, it just doesn't really seem like there's an easy trade. Like XOP, it's cool to see it up. Hit the range. This was old. I would now consider this one downside target range. I could see down here in the 90s. Just doesn't really seem very, Do I want a long oil and gas or short tech? And if you give me those two decisions, I'm taking short and tech all day. Banks would only get worse. My wife handled zero of our finance, and she asked if our money was safe at our bank. She's heading out of the bank. She's hearing about bankers in her day to day. Yeah, bank. I'm hearing a lot about job layoffs. That's what I'm hearing most about. And honestly, that's what to me is the most. As much as like bank runs, all that stuff, that's fine. That's a scary headline. But the reality is the economy is based on jobs, and I'm hearing jobs layoffs blowing out. I'm seeing it, and I live in a pretty decent neighborhood in the Central Park area of Denver. Median house price is $600,000 to $700,000. Decent amount. The average income $140,000. Everyone I know is a six-figure earner. The wives of Denver, whatever kind of crap. I'm seeing their husbands being laid off, and I haven't seen that yet. Guys in banking, guys in tech. Okay. That's the problem here. Now, these mid-sized banks, everyone's knows that they're going to struggle and people are moving money out. I think the biggest question ultimately you have to ask yourself is, how does this end well? Right? Like, they're going to, you know what I mean? Like, there's way too much debt or instruments. If you mark to market, they're worthless. I wouldn't buy them with my enemy's money. Does this make sense? Like, what? Why? Why would I buy this crap? And it is crap. And that's what it is. It's just crap. And do the feds have, why would do the feds want to become insolvent and put themselves at risk? I don't think so. I don't think so, Tim. Yep. I don't think we've seen the start of the layoffs. I completely agree. I 1000% agree. And remember, the layoffs are typically the lagging effect. Hence why Congress is just going bonkers last week on Jay Powell going, so you want to double or triple the unemployment rate? Yes. Yes. Well, we don't know. And this is what's so hard about the markets is you have to live in the future, not the past or the present. You have to understand the past. You have to be cognizant in the present, but the market is always trying to discount the future. I just don't see how any of this, and this is the thing, maybe this is where I'm living in my recollections of the past. I feel like when we catch a cold, Europe gets cancer. Europe gets everything worse. So that's how I look at it. You know, it's like whatever we're dealing with, Europe's going to deal with it 10x. I mean, I don't know if you guys see what's going on in France. What's going on in the Netherlands with their farming. Germany's a mess. England's a mess. I'm trying to think of who's not a complete mess. Maybe Portugal? I don't know. Sweden's going to take a monster loss on some of their banking stuff. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Again, and I don't want to sound like an economist either, because economists don't know everything. But I'm just trying to think about the headlines of what's to come. Can the European Union keep their crap together? I mean, they're the worst. They are the worst. Sorry if you're European and you do like the European Union, but that was never going to succeed. It's like it'd be like, I'm trying to think of like rivalries in football or basketball, working things out. No. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I mean, it's kind of one of them days. One of them days. Apple chopping around, crapple. I mean, this thing is at some point. Again, unless we go hyperinflation and they're about to open up the can, I mean, these stocks need to be repriced in a higher rate environment. I mean, what's Apple really worth? You tell me. I mean, should it be Apple Bank? Would you put your deposits at Apple Bank? I might, actually. But I still would expect the stock not to do amazing, because they're not going to sell a ton of iPhones. High-priced, overpriced tech that just lags Samsung. All right, seems pretty quiet out there in the world. Again, this is the 2 days before the FOMC. Real boring. Market holding up. Yeah, IWM. I mean, I'd like the short on that. ES. You know, it's funny we talk about, you know, the JP Morgan collar. 3600 is down here. Man, that 40-30. Ding, 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 ding. I'm taking in the launch of the... Yeah, dude, the only thing I added was Soxus at 1770s. And that even got down to 1736. Oh, I was a little nervous, but I set my stop at 17 and said, well, you know what? If it's going to take me out, it's going to take me out. Now it's up at 19, essentially. Not bad. But this is what... Again, I wish people have in their minds, like, this all or nothing, today has to be the day. Like, you just don't know. And that's the hardest part. How many people bet on Morgan Stanley upgrades, right? No, I mean, it's like, wait for them. That might be the new play, honestly. But what if they don't, right? You know what I mean? Like, the brain is looking to box things into certain boxes that believe in certainty. And the only certainty is your risk management. I always tell people that, and they just don't pay attention to them. Interesting. Oil. Yeah, I don't really have a play. Any other thoughts, questions? Again, pick my brain about anything. I love sharing the stories, because I think that's where the value of experience comes from. Have I seen this kind of action before? I feel like, yeah. I mean, it feels similar to 2008. But a lot of the stuff in our current banking, I mean, I feel like that's the problem here. Is it's only going to be exacerbated under European stuff. Like, that's just scary to me. Who wants 100-year debt at negative interest rates? China, Russia news. Good question. I don't think that's good for America. Them working together, not good for America. I don't think it's good at all. I mean, that's the one thing that America's been smart about, the United States, whatever. is making sure that all alliances ultimately come down to wanting to be an alliance with America. And we've always isolated Russia for some reason. Well, again, not some reason, but I don't know, political beliefs. And now that China's just going to go out there and say, yeah, we're working with you guys over the U.S., or over China, or sorry, Russia, working with Russia versus the U.S. Now, again, who didn't see this coming, right? But now making it globally known on even more levels of knowledge and knownness, I feel like just makes everyone else go, well, we don't agree with what the United States are doing here. We don't agree with Ukraine. We don't agree with their... Now, again, keep politics out of like the conversation, meaning like what you choose. I'm talking about like politically. There's a lot of conservative countries that are like, no, we don't agree with what America is doing. We don't agree with the European liberals and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't fit their ideologies based on their religions, right? We not agree. Like this is just fact. So, do they want to be a part of the superpower that's more conservative? I don't know. If that makes sense. So, all right, I'm just going to run through charts. Gold again. Ask questions if you have. This looks very ominous. Now, again, that's why I figured gold might get slaughtered if they raise rates. The dollar starts picking up. Keep an eye on the dollar. We talked about the 28 range. Right? The 50-day. Could we get there tomorrow? Maybe. Bonds. Nobody wants them other than when the market banks are collapsing. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. The VIX, as spotted by Kristen, checking the 20-day out, what we talked about. Maybe this 100-day cross at the lows seems rather cheap. The SPY. Watch this candle. Earlier it looked like a doji. Is it an outside reversal novice gap? Novice gap. QQQ hit the upside range again. Backing off. See what happens. Is this the gap though and fail? We'll see. IWM. Gapping up off the lows. Yeah. Uh-oh. Watch the wick. Right? Silverthorn. Good place to live. Is this turning into a left-right combo? Again, it's got no gap in it. It's got nothing. GDX. Talked about it hitting the upper 31s. I don't like that. That looks like an island of floating pain potential. Island floating pain reversal. GDXJ, same thing. Island floating pain hitting resistance, support, resistance up here. Yep, we'll get there in 2 seconds. Newmont. That looks like it could be a start of a move professional gap. AG absolutely just kicked in the teeth, giving up business until silver prices rise, which I kind of actually agree with. When this bottoms, it will be a capitulation. Keep that on your radar. Again, if they still have reserves and they're just saying, you know what, we're not going to sell silver in this market, good for them for putting their foot down. Now, the market's probably going to penalize them, but I think at some point that liquidity will be rewarded. Someone's buying down here. XOP, we just talked about it. Watch oil and gas names. Resistance here at the 123. Oil popping. ExxonMobil, we've talked about. Hit the 200 day, if I remember right. Yep. No, chopping around 200 day. Okay, little gap up. Filling a gap here at 106. See what happens. TAN, oversold bounce, I guess. Into the gap right here. You can see it at 74.20. First Solar, man, what a bitch. Oops, excuse my language. Bouncing back up, chopping here. We talked about, potential. Does it need an M? I hope it doesn't. Or can it just be a lower high? The first dip gets bought. Failure. Run through tech real quick. Adobes. Back up here into the top of the range, filling some gaps. Apple has no follow through today. Interesting action considering it could be and should be up in the trap bull zone. Amazon leading up today, trying to. This again. Let me stretch that over. Not really performing that great in general though, but we'll see what happens. Meta Miho gets the upgrade today. Opens high, hopefully closing low. Microsoft continues to be weak today after yesterday's island floating of pain potentially. Man, is this Microsoft? And the dollar and gold all look the same, potentially. Who knows? We'll see. NDAQ, whatever, flat. Netflix been acting like crap. We talked about that. Tesla coming up next. Yeah, see, just this whole range here. I'd love to see that 20-day. Tesla, 195 into the VAP zone, the big VAP. Let me zoom it out. You can see right here, right? No, that's 190. There's another little one. Okay, well, it extends up to the 190s. Whatever, upper 190s. It gaps up today. Is this novice or pro? Novice or pro? I mean, I would think it's probably more of a novice. Let's check the monthly for poop and giggles. Yeah, it's still in this chop range. What's up, Pippa? How you doing, sweetheart? Chopping, I personally, again, that's why I think tech is the easier short. Good old SMH. Into the chop zone. Look at this. I mean, is it really going to get through here? I highly doubt it. Here we are. Opens high. Reaches for the stars. Not so much. Intel, as we talked about, lag. Hits the 200-day. NVIDIA, finally, buy the rumor, sell the news. Again, chip glut. What's going to happen? Chat GPT, all that stuff, whatever. We know it's the future. Everyone's been talking about it. The future is in the past now, potentially. AMD, oh, yikes. Long wick. I mean, these two candles in themselves are pretty wide and loose. Interesting to see how the volume plays out the rest of the day. Good old Taiwan semi sucker. Backtest the channel. Wow. Who saw that coming? Not me. Novice gap, though, is what it is. Caterpillar, sorry. Popping. Not surprised. Talked about bouncing off the 200-day. New core, same kind of thing. All these things had some bounces in them. Didn't get to 200, but market bounce, it bounced. X bouncing. Remember, this thing was at 29, 30, not too long, but 31, sorry. Bounce, not good. Materials, VALE, not acting well, acting like the dollar's going higher. What else? XLF. Let's not forget XLF. Chopping. I'd watch the 32 area. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Again, I'm here for you guys. I have put in my calendar an hour to do this. I've got 15 minutes left of recording. MicroStrategy. What is your question? How can I answer it? Because again, we've talked about that 280. I guess 280 is this bound from this area chop level. I mean, you could. Let me look at the monthly again, because again, I don't know why, but people just don't ever start in the monthly. I like to show you guys the monthly. I mean, it just looks like a big chop. It's obviously going to follow what? Pro gap on the XLF today, and I talked about this earlier. I personally think it's just Gapapalooza at this point on this stuff. Gapapalooza. It's going to be choppy. It's going to be choppy and sloppy. I'd watch 32s. Because you had a gap up here. I heard the same thing. Pro gap started the move. Right? Nope. We'll see. Again, but my thinking, and again, this is where I love to show you guys the monthlies. Do you see where we're at on the financials? Is this not a lower high, lower low 20-month rejection? Now you hit the 50 for the third time. Are we going to hold? I would think it not. Things are a lot worse than they were a couple months, like April of last year. April, May of last year. We not agree? I guess that's October then here. I would think things are a lot worse. Mucho más peor, whatever. Mucho más peor. No bueno. Lo siento. So, are we just going to stick the landing here? I highly doubt it. Why is this line just not... Oh, yeah, I remember this is... When I transferred over charts, I had to redraw. Don't ever change charting systems. It's such a pain, especially if you've been doing this a long time. There's your primary trend line. I don't know how we would not hit that at some point based on everything going on in the world. All right. Any other stocks, meme stocks? Sure, whatever. Don't care. TQQ, I mean, I think you could... Again, you got to love these. Ultra Pro. This is the long one, right? Yeah. This thing's doo-doo. Wait for that thing's going to $1 and reverse splitting. Yeah, and just one of them days. Just one of them days. It's funny, someone was pushing this Jeppy. It's like, I think it's a covered call. No, it's what's the other? QYLD. It's the sells covered calls monthlies on the Qs, and it's been holding up, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call that holding up that well. Wait for the market to bottom before CF, or do you have a range in mind? Okay, good question. I personally am waiting for the Fed pivot, because gold and then even these commodities will probably do the same kind of thing. Now, could you take a stab in the mid-60s? The hardest part about this is, are we going to do the futures blow up, oil smash, kind of go negative again? That would be crazy if we did. That would be a generational buy, in my opinion. Again, I would say anywhere down in here, it's due to bounce, obviously, gotten beaten up. Does the market rise? Hopefully not too much more. I would love to see, because here's the thing, let's always study the past, right? Pretty sure the next bottom in CF is going to be choppy sloppy, right? Choppy sloppy, or it just, like COVID, it just goes zzz, bow. Man, look at that, about that 18, then it went up to 32, and then I would love to trade that trend. If I had to guess, right, it's probably got to be, I mean, man, there is a lot of volume in this area here, in this node too. Down here, obviously, but I was watching up in here. That, to me, would be amazing support too. In the 50s. So, good question. Great question. I appreciate it. Couple more minutes, or I can just wrap this up. It's up to you, folks. SPY holding up, QQQ flat, NVIDIA, yeah, it sold the news on their chips, as I said. I doubt that it just absolutely falls off the cliff. We'll see. I mean, Mosaic, we'll pop through that one, because, again, I would say this 30s, low to mid-30s. NTA, would love to see it in the 60s. People don't realize, like, these commodity stocks, once the commodity bull market starts, they're going to act like tech names when tech went nuts, and you're just like, what the You're like, that doesn't make sense. How will the Fed's decision affect crypto in general? Your guess is as good as mine, honestly, when it comes to that stuff. Because I think there becomes a certain point where, just like gold, all these other hedges, anything that's future manipulated, which we know gold, Bitcoin now are. What? I mean, do you really want to play a game? Try to figure that out? That's my worry about shorting. And this is the thing. And so if it creates an anxiety that you're not sure of, I just move on to other trades. Like, I like gold. I like starting cryptos on a pullback. Do I like them up here? I can't say that I feel comfortable holding this stuff for a trade comfortably. That to me just seems like a huge gamble, because it's like, this is the hardest part about trading, because this is a great question. You always have to be pivoting mentally to try to figure out what's the easier trade in your opinion by comparing charts and comparing processes of what's going on. If I told you right now, what would I rather short, gold, crypto, or tech? I'm going tech all day. Next, I don't know. I mean, is the dollar going to bottom? It's feeling like it. It's feeling like it. This is the area. This is what's so hard, is people just can't mentally pivot, and I can always be better. I always tell you, like, you can always be better. Right? You can always do better. You can always pivot more. You can always have in your mind, what's the best opportunity? Because opportunity is all you're weighing here, ultimately. and you're waiting for pocket aces. You're waiting for the best hand. So in the basic sense of it all, it's like, man, I don't know. Do I want to short crypto? I mean, maybe you short the crap crypto. The stuff that if you scroll through TikTok or Reels or whatever, and it's the one crypto everyone's talking about. Was it XRP or something maybe? I don't know. I get a lot of finance stuff in my Reels and my feeds. I don't know. I just don't know. And so the answer, in my opinion, is just try to go back to what seems like the path of least resistance. Which, to me, the path of least resistance would be what? Do what seems more obvious. That's probably not the answer you want to hear, but again, I put out the video today. Day trading is gambling, and trying to always be right is the ultimate danger. And I might be, again, what if the financial, someone's like, hey, it's a pro gap. What if it does go higher? I know I'm saying it's very gapish and trappish. Now, again, could it go up another day up here into the 32s? That seems logical to me. I don't know. I just don't know. And so I want to pick my spots the best I can. Is shorting crypto up here right now? I mean, you're at some good spots. Can't argue that, right? Can't argue that. So here's how I would try to play it, right? Hit your stop. And again, maybe maybe Ethereum is a good short, because I got one of the dumbest people I know asking me about it. Buying it. Is it a good buy? And I'm like, I don't know. And you've got resistance. It's like buying the Soxus this morning in 1770s. Buy it, put your stop. Crypto is more tech related. We would agree. Yeah, I think so. It's a hard answer. It's a hard answer, and that's the thing, try to give you the best probability-based trade, in my opinion. Because that's how my mind works. I don't go into all or nothing, black and white. Nothing's that easy. Nothing is that easy. All right. Any other last thoughts, questions, concerns? I appreciate everyone, and I know a lot of people are taking the day off. They're going to do what they need to do, as they should. I mean, the only reason why I'm here is to just watch the market and honestly follow up with folks, because I really think people are again, this is where I'm curious to see, and follow me here, because I know a lot of people are here for the real estate stuff, but this is my thinking on real estate if you're not familiar or looking to invest. In 2008 into 2009, 2 months, you had a spike in the TLT and drop in rates. That was epic, meaning rates went down significantly. I think that happens at some point. When that's the question, the $1 million question. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, if you're looking to buy real estate, when that happens, people will be jumping ship, trying to unload everything. Unemployment should rise. People should be freaking out, and rates could go from whatever 7% they're at now, mortgage rates obviously, down to 4%. Again, I don't see us getting back into the twos and threes, but maybe mid-low 4s. That, to me, would be a good long-term buying opportunity in real estate. So you got to be prepared. Got to have your agent. You got to be kind of like perusing the area. You got to know the rental comps. You want to know, like, all right, well, if I'm buying in this area, what's the average amount of rent I can get? And keep in mind, this is what people just don't forget, or they always forget. Sorry, don't forget. They always forget that when people aren't buying, they're renting. And what happens to rental rates? They go higher. Now, again, unemployment rises. Yes, you got to be careful who you pick and choose to put in your, it might be worth doing more homework, being more picky than throwing someone in there into your rental properties. Be thoughtful, right? If you have to do a discount to get someone great in there, it's worth it near term. Or, as I like to do, tiered. Say if you have a winter listing for a rental, you do like $3,000 for a couple months and then raise it to $3,500. Hey, 3-month special. People love specials, right? They love specials. That'll get people off the sideline sometimes, take a deal. Yeah, all right, well, that's really it. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? You know, I always talk about certain stocks I like to follow. I'm watching them right now, this Intel. And then I was watching FedEx post earnings for industrials. Check this out real quick. Where are you, IYT? Yeah, 200-day chopping around. Agree, Banff. Do not just throw anyone in there, especially in California. In certain places, they have these squatters laws and rights to protect the renters that don't make sense. Renters, know who's going in there. Know who's going into your properties. Now, remember, you can't be prejudiced based on race, color, creed, any of that stuff. But I am very cognizant of how their green talks. I am very biased. I think I was telling people stories about how some of the people looking at our last investment purchase, we were putting people in there. It was like two amazing women, awesome people, getting divorced from their husbands. They're coming together as a couple. Cool, interesting story. Wanted to help them out, but then I looked at their credit and knew that they were going to have to pay alimony. They had both bought new cars recently, had $800 to $900 car payments, and their incomes were only $100,000 a month. So say taking the total income, $12,000, they had $9,000 in debts, and they still had not gone to alimony, and they wanted to rent out a property for $3,500 a month. I can't do that. I would be hurting them by putting them in a position to have to pay that much, and then myself. So again, that's the thing. People, all sorts of different people out there, and honestly, their credit scores, background checks say a lot about them. You know, someone's credit score says a lot, right? Can you pay your payments on time? When you're not, what was causing it? And this is what was interesting, is if you go, you're starting to do some applications and review people's backgrounds. Don't be surprised if they have a little bit of mess ups during COVID, though. There's a lot of little like temporary things. So you got to look at their previous history and then their current history. COVID was pretty wild in how it affected certain people. Let's call it what it is. This isn't a COVID conversation, but it definitely affected people's livelihoods. All right. Last thoughts, questions, concerns. Forever hold your peace. Amen. Any questions, thoughts? Again, don't be scared. Worst case scenario, I just make fun of you in the nicest way possible. Not typically. Usually all questions are good. No, thank you guys. I mean, again, Patience said this yesterday. I don't really know what else to say other than, do you think the market, and this is the thing, end this on this, is the market really going to absolutely unload until the Feds speak? Hence like this candle. I'm like, just watch this here. It's probably going to be an indecision day. And then what? Maybe it's a 2-day range. Maybe we retest the highs. That's all you can do. And hey, respect to you guys, because again, I mean, ultimately, this is the thing. There's so many people sitting around trying to find the easy answer. And the easy answer is what? Having your plan, defining your risk, knowing what you're going to do. Again, try to be careful with options, as always, and just be thoughtful. Like, don't have in your mind that the market is somehow you can control the market with your beliefs. There's a lot of people who get really dug in deep, and then their beliefs of the market affect their confidence. And it's like, well, I've lost my confidence because the market's not doing what I think it's going to do. And it's like, well, the problem is you need to pivot off of this bull crap that you control. No. We're always evidence-based, and that's how you get your confidence back. And this is the hardest part, though, is when we talk about evidence, whatever. Does it have to happen right now? Because I know a lot of people who made a ton of money on the XLF short up near the highs, right? And then we talked about the first dip getting bought. Patience. Look about. Financials lead. Tech will follow at some point. And if it doesn't, then that's new to me. And guess what? It's new to me, new to you, new to everybody. It's a learning experience, and it's going to cost you something. That's the problem with education. Hopefully, if it's new, it doesn't cost you that much. And I've tried to warn you of all potentialities, but sometimes you just can't see what you can't see. All right. I will talk to you guys, gals, friends, family, homies later. Peace.